Hey friends, it's John Maria Hoffman here, Tampa Home Group, here to talk about all things real estate in the greater Tampa Bay market for November. Wow, John, I cannot believe we are in the home stretch of 2025.
We got a lot going on.
I know. Well, before we get into that, I have to remind everybody about the Turkey Trot. So Thanksgiving morning, you and I and a whole bunch of our friends and the team here, we're going to be doing the Wiregrass Turkey Trot. So much fun. It's a great family event. Thanksgiving morning, you can walk, run, wobble, and there's still time to sign up. So I'm going to put a link in the description below with the video. So if people still want to join us,
awesome.
Tampa Home Group team, you can join our team.
And we hope to see you at the Turkey Trot.
We'd love to see you guys there. Yeah. So, well, we're heading into the end of the year, and what's going on in real estate? We've had rates come down a little bit.
Well, the interest rates, it's very interesting, Maria. It's like the Fed cuts the rates and the interest rates go up on the mortgage. And people are confused, but what folks have to understand is that the Fed rate cut affects car loans and credit cards and personal loans.
Yeah.
And it's the 10-year Treasury bill that affects mortgages.
Right.
Right. And the rates are down a little bit throughout the year. But when you take the greater Tampa area, and you really need to look at individual areas like Lutz, Land O'Lakes, Odessa, South Tampa, overall, the market's down 3 to 6% depending on where you are.
Okay.
And until the mortgage rates come down, that trend might continue, even though in most areas, 30 to 40% of homes that are going under contract do it in 30 days or less.
Yeah, yeah. Homes are still selling. I mean, the number of sales is actually very healthy. And in most of the zip codes that we serve, the number of sales is actually up year over year, year to date.
Well, and so what's happening is there's still strong demand for real estate.
Yeah.
I think once the rates, eventually they're going to get down to 5.25-ish,
Yeah.
Not sure when, but then you'll start to see appreciation again.
Yeah.
And I'm basing that on the absorption rate of homes going under contract in 30 days or less tells us there's a strong demand.
Yes.
But what it also tells us is that sellers need to be a little bit more proactive in getting their house ready to go on the market.
Yeah.
Removing as many negatives as possible and kind of dressing it up to go on the market. And then the other side of the coin is that some buyers think that they can come in at 10-15% under market value.
Yeah, and that is not happening. That is not happening. And buyers need to understand that things are still selling fairly close to their list price, within 3 or 4% on average in our market as of last month. So it doesn't make sense to expect to go and look at a house and to be able to buy it for, let's say, 10% or 15% less. That's not happening. So, however, there are some great opportunities.
Well,
and buyers do have some leverage.
There's a real temptation for sellers to want to leave room to negotiate.
Yeah.
So if a house sold last year for $700,000 and right down the street from a home seller, and they're like, well, my neighbor got 700, so I should be able to get 700.
Or maybe or 725. I mean, a lot of people think they could get a
what they're going to do is they're going to I want to leave room to negotiate, so they list it at 715. Well, if the neighbor's house sold for $700,000 last year, and it's an area that's seen a 3% price depreciation year over year, that house is really only worth $680. And if they list it at $715, right, they're $35,000 above market value.
Yeah.
So it's going to sit there.
Yeah.
Then they're going to drop the price after 30 days to $700, but they're still $15,000 overpriced.
Right, right. Which is exactly why, John, we saw on November 1st, Saturday morning, I always get up and every morning I look at what's coming on the market, what's come off the market. So on Saturday morning, November 1st, we were up to, I think it was about 154 expired listings in our MLS, just in the area that we really serve. And John, that number is the highest number I've seen since New Year's Day. So every month it's been a little bit higher. So that tells me that there's a larger number of sellers that are kind of expecting a little too much out of the price, right? And that the demand is not there to absorb those homes.
Maria, that's part of it. The other part is, well, sellers are going to have a need or a want that if the buyer disagrees with the opinion and value, it's not going to sell. But what I see a lot, just as often, as the listing agent doesn't explain to the seller, going back to my scenario, if the neighbor sold for $700 last year, you should be able to get $700. Well, that's not the case.
Yeah.
So if the agent is giving the seller bad information, and don't forget, 50% of all licensed agents haven't sold a house this year.
Right.
And 77% have sold less than 3.
Right. And I'm not sure what number of agents, John, were actually selling homes back in 2007, 8, 9, 10 months or years where we didn't have a market that was going straight up. And unless you've sold in that kind of a market, you don't know what to do in a market that's not going up.
Well, those agents are going through the learning curve of being in this market.
Right.
And unfortunately, far too many sellers, if you've got 3 realtors and one tells you 700, 715, 720 as a suggested list price, a lot of sellers will just pick the highest number.
Yeah.
But it might not be the right information.
Yeah, gosh, I probably talk to 40 or 50 people a day, and I've had sellers tell me when their listings come off the market, well, I met with 3 agents and they all told me this number. And that number was not the number, but because those 3 agents all agreed, they were sure that was the number. So sometimes the agents don't know, right?
So, and that's not that uncommon, actually.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is people last year told us, well, I'm going to wait for the market to turn. And let's use that $700,000 house. If somebody would have put their house on the market last spring, and it would have sold for $28,000 to $30,000 more than it's going to sell for this spring, if the trend continues.
Well, you bring up a really good point, because this time of year we get, a lot of sellers might just automatically assume if their house hasn't sold, well, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till after the holidays. I'm going to wait until spring. And sometimes that could be the right thing to do, but I was actually looking at what happened last year to the people that waited, right? And last year, December was actually one of the biggest closing months. There were 4,300 closings in our Tampa Bay market in December, so it was a strong month. And the people that waited to, well into the year, many of those people sold their homes for less than they would have had they gone ahead and sold it sooner.
Well,
because the market came down.
We'll break it down this way.
Yeah.
If a $700,000 house has dropped 4% in value this year,
right,
and the values are not going up, all right? So let's say that the rates drop, and this time next year there's appreciation.
Yeah.
Well, if there's 1% to 2% appreciation, that could take 3 or 4 years. So
to get back to where
it would have been a year ago. And so
right.
what I'm telling people is, if you're going to wait for the market to come back, it's got to come back from where you could have sold it a year ago.
Yeah.
Right? And so that might be 4 or 5 years, and you really want to wait that long. But what happens is sellers just have to have accurate information.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that being said, the best advice is not always to wait. And it's a natural tendency. People want to wait. And when we look back at history in hindsight, waiting has not always been the best course of action.
No, they hope.
So,
and you know what? They just hope. And it comes down to, why are you moving? Where are you moving to?
Yeah.
What is your house really going to sell for? What is your check going to be at closing?
Yeah.
And does that allow you to reach the goals that you need to reach?
Exactly. And if you were to, let's say, wait until maybe your home is worth a higher number, what is that going to do to the price of what you're buying, where you're going, if you are buying? Because that's the other piece of the puzzle.
So really what happens is, right now, this time of the year, people are thinking about doing something in the spring.
Yeah.
Right? And if any of our clients are thinking of doing that, we always encourage them to call us, because the one thing we tell them is, guys, once we tour your home and look at it and make suggestions on what you might want to do to maximize sales price, we give people very accurate information.
Yeah. Oh, that is my favorite thing to be doing. And I think about some of our most successful clients and people that sold their home in 2025 and sold their home March, April, May. Some of those people actually were talking to us back in October, November, December, and we were part of the process of getting the home ready, helping them save money on repairs, troubleshooting things that could have become an issue in an inspection. And we were able to do those things for people, saving them the aggravation and saving them from spending money on things that really didn't matter.
So let me ask you a question, Maria.
Yeah.
What month do you think is the month that there is the lowest inventory traditionally, year in, year out? Homes for sale.
The lowest inventory, I'm going to guess it might be December.
January 1st is usually the day of the lowest inventory for the year.
Okay.
So people that go on the market, when you've got a low inventory, that means there's less choices for buyers.
Right. Less
So,
competition.
Less competition. Just something for people to, keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And even though we're in November, we got Thanksgiving coming up, we will be doing another update in December. And then we're going to be doing a really deep dive at the beginning of January on where the market is and where we think it's going in 2025. What are our predictions for the real estate market for the greater Tampa area in 2026?
Can't wait.
Stay tuned.
All right. Don't forget the turkey trot.
Take care.
Hope to see you there.